And thank everyone that's putting comments in. Feel free to comment in the chat, like where you're at and what you're seeing. And Sandy, I'm very jealous. You had golden crown kinglets and brown creepers. Like, oh, to see one of those golden crown kinglets. And yeah. And Annie has swallowtail kites and cedar waxwings are there in St. Augustine.
So they've been moving. I saw one on the way home from Mead today. Well, some at Mead and then one on the way home. So that was nice. Yeah. And I heard a great crested when I was driving to Mead, but of course I couldn't really pull over anything.
Yeah, I heard one yesterday. We will at Trimble. And first one.
You heard people bird every day. Not for me.
Yeah, they're noisy. The great crested. They can be pretty noisy.
They are.
Usually on the top of the trees, though, way up high.
Couldn't find the one yesterday. And he flew.
Yeah, we couldn't find one today. We were hoping. Because they're always in the front at Mead there.
Yeah. Yeah, they'll probably nest in there somewhere.
They stay year round here? They nest here, the great crested?
No,
they leave in the fall. Yeah, but
because they nest up where we live.
Yeah, we get nesting ones here, but then they leave. So they're just coming back. The Phoebes, I guess, just have left for the most part. I haven't seen a Phoebe in a while.
Haven't either.
Yeah, I had some friends in Ohio that have heard their first Phoebes, so they're a lot of them are quite far up there. They're almost in their home territories.
Wow.
I mean, they're getting turkey vultures are back up there. Quite a few different species are already arrived in Ohio right now. They're seeing quite a few in the northwestern Ohio area, the people that I know.
Phoebes?
Kinglets, they're seeing kinglets now. Flowers have started blooming. The first flowers of the season have popped up out of the ground. Skunk cabbage is coming up at oak opening. So, things are happening up there.
Oh, and Sandy just saw her first eastern Phoebe at Magee too.
Oh.
Very nice.
They have come from here.
That's right. We set them up.
Phoebes everywhere.
Just still doing Phoebe though.
Yeah.
I keep hearing it.
He hasn't forgotten.
So I see
I've not forgotten.
So there's a Sandy here that was on the Magee boardwalk. Is that your relation?
Yeah.
Okay. Hello to Napoleon. I'm only 28 miles up the river from you there by Sylvania, Ohio. I'll be there in a month. They got some great birding along there, along the Maumee River. Defiance, the dam is a good place to go. The trails, the old canal trails they pulled the canal boats on.
Yeah, they have a lot of good birding there. And just even the fields are nice. Some of the old.
The reservoirs, all the reservoirs around those areas are always full of birds in the fall that you don't normally see, like loons, and you get an eared grebe here and there.
Oh, that would be cool.
Ooh, that would be nice.
Horn grebes, see a lot of horn grebes in those reservoirs. We had one year in Findlay, we had a juvenile parasitic yager. And it would just fly around the reservoir like it was coastline, and it would just keep flying around and around. It would chase everything. Every gull that came by, it would chase.
Huh.
We had a weed ear. Was it a weed ear they had? At Kildare Plains, which is in Ohio, by Upper Sandusky, Marion. I think it was.
That's a European bird?
No, I don't think so.
Western?
A Western bird, but it showed up and it stayed for a few weeks actually. So a lot of people saw it. They also had out towards Napoleon Way, well, not quite that far, a gyrfalcon showed up for a while. A juvenile.
Nice. I tried to go see that prairie that was there.
Yeah.
Prairie falcon.
Yeah, I didn't chase that one, but the prairie was there. Was that a couple years ago?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I
Out
went
by
three
by
times,
West,
but that's
was
all I
it
could
by
do.
Weston, Ohio, out there by Bowling Green that way?
Battery is half
I
full.
think so.
Ready to pair.
I got it. I got it. All right, got him. Got him.
Okay.
The only European bird I saw in Ohio was in Cleveland. It was the brambling,
Uh-huh.
I
Rambling.
don't even know what that is.
the
Yeah.
European finch of some type, I think. It was at a bird feeder for a few weeks near Brunswick, Ohio.
Huh.
That was a few years ago. We also had this past summer, we drove to Akron and saw the brown booby.
Oh, yeah, heard about that.
Yeah, it
Yeah.
didn't
Okay,
survive,
not
of course.
connecting.
And then
No, didn't.
north of us one year, a few years back, I went in Flint and saw an ivory gull.
Oh
That
my
was
God.
in-
Usually auto connect.
That's a pretty awesome bird to see, but it didn't survive. It died of West Nile virus. I think they said it had.
Wow, that's a interesting.
Well, bird that shows up that far out of its range and it didn't look healthy, and it wasn't afraid of people. It would sit in the river and it would fly around, and it looked like it was trying to eat, but it just didn't look very healthy. And a few days later, they found it dead along the river.
Wow, that's
And so
sad.
they took it to the University of Michigan and did an necropsy on it and said it died of West Nile virus.
Oh my goodness.
Huh. Mosquitoes got it.
Yeah. Well, those of you that just joined us, if you want to share in the chat where you're from, especially if you're from another place in Florida besides Central Florida, or if you're from another state or another country, we would love to know.
I'm from Wayne. I'm from Titusville.
Oh, hi, Wayne.
Belong to the Brevard County group. So, but I heard about this Zoom meeting tonight, so I was excited to join it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Welcome.
And Rochelle is also from Titusville. Hello.
Hi, Rochelle.
Yes, I just heard Wayne. Hi, Wayne.
Hey, Rochelle, how are you?
Good. How are you? Hi, Kathy.
Hi. We're in master naturalist class together.
Yes, yes. And got to do one activity over there at Wekiwa Springs right before lockdown. So
Is the Merritt
Yeah.
Island, was it shut down today? I heard they were doing controlled burns out there.
I just came from there like 10 minutes ago. That Black Point's open and Gator Road, but the control burns were a little bit further back.
Okay.
So yeah, the Black Point was open though, no problem.
Oh, good. Did you see the great horned owls to see if the owlet's out walking, jumping around on the poles?
I did not. We went a different direction from where they are, but I saw some pictures 2 days ago. But yeah, I was trying to find that hybrid. There's that tricolored.
Oh, yes, yes.
Yeah.
Oh,
So
yeah. I saw him
Uh,
last week.
Oh, did you?
Oh,
Yeah.
Yes. Early on, before people started posting pictures on the Merritt Island Facebook page, I saw this bird. I took a few shots. I'm like, that must be some bird in plumage. And then it turns out, no, it's a hybrid.
And it's been there before. I mean, it's showed
Yeah,
up.
last year I saw it.
Yeah,
right.
I've seen it once, and that was last year, I think.
Yeah.
Where did you say you
So
were from?
I looked
Ann?
for it, but I didn't see
It's
it.
on Black Point Drive.
Where did you say you were from?
Me, I'm from Sanford.
Oh, okay.
I go down to Merritt Island once a week. I'm headed tomorrow.
Oh, nice. We have a visitor from Texas.
Oh.
How nice. And I bet you get a lot of exciting birds in Texas.
Yes, we do. We're starting to have the golden cheek warbler already showing up in our area.
Nice.
Oh,
Oh, goodness. Oh, we're drooling.
yeah. I've been to New Braunfels.
Yeah, and Lauren, who was in the beginning bird class, got to go to the Virgin Islands and saw banana quits, green-throated carib. Wow, that's exciting. Lauren.
Yeah, it was.
All right, let me.
And Joshua. What?
Well,
Audubon.
All right.
Okay, well, it's already at 7. Mark, while we do the intros, can you get your, you got your PowerPoint already as well?
Yeah, it's ready. It's just a matter of me sharing the screen and
Okay,
clicking the button.
okay, great. Well, welcome, everybody. Let me get the screen up. Welcome to Bird Chat. Tonight, I will just have a few announcements, a plant of the week, a mystery bird, and then on to our program about Magee Marsh, Ohio. And just upcoming programs on Bird Chat are that April 1st, we'll have the Mead spring migration, migration hotspot right there in Winter Park. And our team will talk about it next week. And then April 8th, we'll talk about Fort DeSoto, another very important statewide migration hotspot for spring. And then the 15th, it's a program on birds and hurricanes by Dr. Ken Meyer of the Avian Research and Conservation Institute in Gainesville. That one is our regular monthly program, so it won't be a bird chat. It won't be on Zoom. It will be on YouTube Live. So you don't even have to register. You just go to Orange Audubon Society's YouTube channel, which, by the way, is where you can see any of these old ones that we've done. Then April 22nd, back to the bird chat format in Zoom, we'll have Jaywatch with Maria Zondervan, the land manager for the Lake Apopka North Shore. And then April 29th, we'll have Oakland Nature Preserve with Jackie Raleigh, who's done all the restoration work out there. And I want to announce that Orange Audubon's Chertok Florida Native Nature Photo Contest deadline is April 15th, coming up very quickly. And it's a 33-year-old contest. You can go to orangeaudubonfl.org/Chertok or just use the menu to find the Chertok contest and see all the rules. The main rule to note is that it can't have, and it should be Florida based, your photo. Can be a bird or any kind of organism, but it can't have non-native elements in it. Nothing man-made or invasive. Okay. And next, Wakawa survey that Kathy leads is on Saturday, April 10th, 7:15. Contact Kathy. Her email's at the bottom. And then Orange Audubon is having its Birdathon fundraiser April 10th or 11th during any 24-hour period during those dates, Saturday or Sunday. And if you want to do a birding team, contact Kathy. All right. And plant of the week is the coral bean, Erythrina herbaceae, in the family Fabaceae. And it's a beautiful plant that blooms just right now in the spring, March, and a little bit into April. And it's called coral bean because of the beans, which actually are poisonous. And to germinate, they have to be scarified. So they go through the body of a gopher tortoise, get scarified in there and come out and germinate. That's the story I've been told. But I recommend planting it. Here's its range all through the South. And because it's the wonderful nectar source for the ruby-throated hummingbird, blooming exactly when it comes back. So if you buy one now, it won't be ready to support the hummingbirds this year, but you could get it going for next year. All right, turning it over to Susan.
all right. So it was a little cold that day. You could see this bird's a little puffed up. This yellow capped warbler with the brown flanking really likes to be in regrowing forests. So they really only stay in a given habitat for 10 years because they do like kind of disturbed trees. However, they do stay in places where the trees are somewhat stunted. So in the Appalachians, you can find them. The males do tend to keep their tails somewhat cocked, and they have, this is the breeding plumage. So what I'm going to have you guys guess to see what this is, and you can type it in chat, and we'll kind of go over. They do pass only through here, and they're going south. So let me play the call. Any guesses? All right, here we go. We got some Tammy, chestnut-sided warbler. You got it. And Wayne and Lauren. Oh, I'm sorry, she said yellow-capped chickadee. Chestnut-sided warbler. So we can go to the next slide. And so that's my picture. Now we'll look at a really nice picture that I took out of All About Birds. So you can see they have a really pretty chestnut stripe. We do see them in migration through here. I saw one last year coming through only once and never could find it again. But they do come through here. I did see it at Mead Gardens. They do pass through here. And if we go to the next slide. So this is the non-breeding plumage is kind of a greenish on top. They have a white eye ring, a little bit of wing bars. They do hold the tails somewhat cocked. And we can go to the next one. And they eat insects and caterpillars. They breed, you can see way far up north on the Appalachian. On migration, they will head down to Central America where they like thickets, the shade-grown coffee plantation and second growth forests. As a matter of fact, I went to buy coffee and noticed that the one coffee was named Chestnut-sided warbler, which makes sense since they're one of the birds that stays in those forests. They do like foliage. So if you're looking, they don't stay around the big branches and the trunks. They like the foliage. And we can kind of help them by buying some of that shade grown coffee and support some of the plantations there to prevent them from cutting more trees down. And that's it for the mystery. And then we're going to switch over to.
Thank you, Susan.
Mark. You're welcome.
Okay. So now, Mark, press
Yep.
share. And I will introduce you while you're doing that. Mark Hainen is a retired, he's retired from the healthcare field a few years ago and is a snowbird living part of the year here in Central Florida, where he's discovered the Lake Apopka North Shore and is a big aficionado of it. He's also a trip leader now for the North Shore Birding Festival, which is in early December. And he's a wonderful photographer, really, that's his great hobby now, wildlife photography. And he's entered the Audubon photo contest and won quite a few photos and several other contests, as well as the our Orange Audubon's Church Talk photo contest. So I'll leave you to tell the rest, Mark.
Okay. Well, what I'm going to show you is a kind of a canned presentation, but it's warbler pictures I've taken in Northwest Ohio and other birds during migration. There's two, I'll just warn you, there are two slides that are actually warblers we see up there, but I actually took the pictures here, and you'll see the Spanish moss and wonder, well, that doesn't look like Ohio, because it's not. But in any case, I will probably, make some comments along the way. There's music with it. So at the end, I'll answer any questions about Magee Marsh. I'll answer any questions about photography. If what I do know, I'm an amateur photographer, but it's a passion of mine. So I spend a lot of time doing it. So with that, I'm going to start the presentation. These are all in Lake Erie, closer to between Toledo and Fort Clinton, Ohio. These breed just north of us, 4 hours in Michigan, near Grayling. One of my favorite warblers. Mystery bird. These guys do nest in our area, and this one is actually building a nest at Magee Marsh. The ovenbird is there all summer in our area. Don't see many of these. I see them at Secor Metro Park in Toledo in the spring.
Beautiful.
Well, we had a lot of these down here a few weeks ago. They also nest here, the hooded warbler, in the Toledo area. This is a hybrid, very hard to find. It's full of roosters. This one has showed up for the last 4 years in a row at the same spot. Now this is an unusual one. We saw this 2 years ago at Magee Marsh. I actually just saw one in Merritt Island several weeks ago. another favorite of mine. Here's one that's hard to see. They're there, you hear them, but you very rarely see them. They come later in migration, mid-May. No longer a warbler, but still a really cool bird. They do nest in the oak openings area. They're everywhere, which is a large metro park west of Toledo. This is a hard one to find. They're very loud. You can hear them, but they're hard to find. These guys stay all summer as well. They stay part of the summer. Usually find them into June and July. The blue wings nest in our area. Oak openings is a big area for them in most of the metro parks west of Toledo. Okay, this is a Florida picture, but I had to get a pine warbler in there. We do see plenty of them at Magee Marsh. And this is also a Florida picture. Actually, Oakland Nature Preserve. Now the rest of these birds are others that we see in migration, and many of them stay in the summer. These guys stay around all summer. Of course, they're there year round. The tangers stay the summer. Oak openings has plenty of them. You can find them by hearing their call. These guys are around all summer. Scarlet tangers, they do stay around in the summer. as do the cuckoos. We have black-billed as well. This is the summer bird. We have also the warbling vireo, the yellow-throated vireo, and the Philadelphia vireo. Common nighthawks come through, they head north, but they come back in the fall, and you see them circle. I see them circling over my home in Ohio in the late summer as they start moving south again. Oak openings is nesting grounds for the red-headed woodpecker, so there's quite a few. It's also a nesting ground for the lark sparrow, which is a rare sparrow. The other hermit thrush veeries, the wood thrush, of course. This is Howard Metro Park, which is just down the road from Magee Marsh, and it's a great park for shorebirds. Also, yellow-headed blackbirds are starting to show up there every year now. They're not nesting yet, but they do show up, which is more of a western prairie bird. You notice our towhee up north has a red eye. It doesn't have a white eye like they do in the south. Ulmer orioles are already showing up in some yards up north right now. I've seen reports. So they're getting their grape jelly out. We have tundra swans in the winter. We have snow geese, Ross's goose, white-fronted geese in the winter.
Wow.
That's it.
That was just wonderful. Thank you so much.
Sure.
Now we got some questions.
I'll try to answer them best I can. I'm a birder, but I'm not an expert, so I'll do the photography. I'm a little better on, I think.
Well, can you first tell why it's such a hot spot? What's going on with that?
Well, Magee Marsh, warblers, my understanding is warblers migrate in the evening. So if you go outdoors on a spring morning at 4 a.m., you might hear the wings of fluttering and chirping over your head. But as they're flying north, they have to stop and refuel. And Magee Marsh is a stopping point before they jump across Lake Erie and go further north to their breeding grounds. And it seems like the warblers that are coming up the East Coast and coming up, the central states, some of them are funneling into the areas of Magee Marsh. I mean, there's other areas they go through as well. But again, it's a nice wooded area, allows them to stop and spend 2 or 3 days feeding before they continue their travels. I'm not Ken Kaufman, so I don't know everything.
Oh, no, that's the basic thing I've heard as well. Susan, do you want to field the next questions?
I can't hear.
You're muted.
Somebody's muted. They're all muted up there. It looks like.
Okay, Susan always does this. Ask to unmute. Okay.
I always do that. Sorry.
Oh, okay.
It's actually, is Magee Marsh open this year?
Well, Magee Marsh is currently open right now. The boardwalk is open. However, I think April 17th through the end of May, they're closing the actual boardwalk down because of the inability to do any social distancing on the boardwalk. The state of Ohio owns and operates that wildlife area, and they've made that decision, which is a good decision given the current situation that we face. You saw that one picture of how crowded that boardwalk is. I mean, it gets so bad that you can't even move. And if you have a camera, it's even harder. And if there's wheelchairs on there, it makes it almost impossible. So they're closing the boardwalk down. However, the Magee Marsh Wildlife Area will remain open, and they will be opening up some additional trails. One specifically that's never been open runs behind the actual boardwalk, and I'm sure it's going to have a lot of warblers along it. If you want to check further, you can check with Black Swamp Bird Observatory, which is Kimberly Kaufman's program up there at Magee Marsh. And you can get updated information from them on what's going on. And they have go ahead.
Oh, I'm sorry. Can you repeat the dates it's closed? And
I think it closes April 17th, and then it's closed through the end of May. Now, double check that. Go to Black Swan Bird Observatory's website or their Facebook page to double check it, but you will not be able to use the boardwalk. My understanding is you'll be able to drive back into the parking lot, I think. You'll be able to walk along the lake. I think Ottawa Wildlife Refuge is open. They're walking trails. The warblers are there. It's just going to be a little bit more work to find them if you plan on going into that area.
And then can you repeat the name of, someone asked the park you mentioned, they said they thought it was Howard, and I'll type that in.
Yeah, Howard Metro Park, which is a Toledo Metro Park that opened a couple years ago, is just west of Magee Marsh, about 5 or 6 miles. And it was built specifically for shorebird habitat. And then further east is Maumee Bay State Park. They also have a wooded area, and they have a boardwalk as well. But again, you would have to check with the actual park systems to see what's open and not open. I just don't know. Most of the Toledo Metro Parks will be open. Their trails will be open, and they're all good places to see warblers. It just takes a little bit more effort to find them. You've got also Sheldon Marsh, which is east of Magee Marsh, over by Huron, Ohio. Pipe Creek is another one. So there's areas along the lake that are probably going to have access of some type, but you could always check on the Ohio Department of Natural Resources to see what is open and what is not open if you're planning a trip up there.
Yeah, I would definitely check because things can change daily.
Yes.
Yeah. And I think Howard Marsh is where they have the yellow-headed blackbirds.
They do. They started showing up 2 years ago. They were there last year during the actual Magee event. And we thought they were nesting there, but they didn't stay. They left sometime in June. But it's an unusual bird. They have like a metal mechanical sound to their call, and you can hear them, but it's hard to see them sometimes because they're down in the reeds. But they fly around, and I've got some cool pictures of them. But that's a western or a prairie blackbird that I don't think was coming any further than Wisconsin maybe. But they're now showing up probably because of habitat loss. They're coming further east to find additional habitat.
They're going to Walmart, right?
At Sanford.
Wait, who all saw them at Walmart?
Yeah, they were at Walmart. I heard that.
Yes.
And another year it was behind the fairgrounds. That was a few years ago.
Now, Terrence wants to know, are there hotels nearby the marsh?
Yeah, Port Clinton, Ohio is probably 20 miles to the east. And then Toledo, Ohio is about 30 miles to the west. And that has plenty of accommodations in the small burgs around there. Then you have Maumee Bay State Park Lodge, which is also a large hotel facility. And that's usually the headquarters for the biggest week event. And I don't know how full that, and there's also a big campground there, and there's campgrounds around that area
It's
all over.
beautiful. You can see all those birds right at your campsite.
Yeah, so I'll guarantee this, there'll be people there, and there'll be a lot of people there. Even if the boardwalk's closed, people come to see the warblers. So so if you're planning to go, I would start checking now. What other questions? One thing I'll mention, I do not use any flash photography. Mine's all natural light. It's not that I'm against it. It's just that's just the way I have, really been practicing photography.
Okay, and Terrence would like to know, which airport would you fly into?
Well, there's a couple choices. There's more than one choice. Toledo Express is like a Sanford airport. It's like Sanford. It's small, not as many flights. Allegiant goes there out of Sanford, and the flights are really cheap. Then Toledo Express is a little bit west of Toledo. You can fly into Detroit Metro. To drive to Magee Marsh from Detroit Metro is probably an hour and 20-minute drive. You could fly into Cleveland Hopkins, which is probably an hour drive. So those are the 3 airports that you could consider.
I'm just going to type them in so people can look.
Sure.
Oh. Very good. And then usually a lot of people mean less birds, but not here. What is the size of lens you use?
Well, most of those pictures were taken with a 600 millimeter. But the latter part of the shots, I'm now using I use Nikon, and I bought their 500 millimeter PF lens, which is a small, really light lens. It's a phased Fresnel lens. It only weighs like 3 pounds. That's a better lens. 600 is quite a bit of power for the warblers, because if you are on the boardwalk, they're in your face. I have to back up a lot because they're so close. And the 600 is a heavy lens to carry around, but it's wonderful. It takes wonderful pictures, is the lens quality. But I'm using now the PF 500 lens on a Nikon D5.
So do you like the 500 better for warblers?
Yeah, for this situation, if I'm on the boardwalk, I would prefer my plan was to use that lens because it still has reach of a 500 millimeter, but it's very small and easy to carry and walk with. The 600 is a full blown f4 prime lens. It's, it's like 4 feet long. It's gigantic and it's heavy. My camera with the lens is 12 pounds. So, it gets a little heavy as you carry it around all day, but it takes wonderful pictures. I find that the 600 is a little overkill in some situations, where a 500 it works well for me, specifically because it doesn't have it has 100 millimeters less reach, and it's light and easy to maneuver and to carry.
Nice. How are the bugs? Someone wants to know.
Not bad. It's not that, there's mosquitoes depending on how wet it is, but it's not because the Magee Marsh, there's a boardwalk there because it's a marsh. So there's water in the woods, but it's not bad. I would always have some kind of repellent, and you don't need to wear netting or anything like that. So it's not terrible. It's not like going to Minnesota or something, where northern Michigan, where the bugs are really bad in the spring.
Do the bugs start at a certain time?
If it's wet, if it's wet out and there's mosquitoes there, as soon as you go in, they're on you. And the weather could be downright hot, or it could be extremely cool and cold. So you need to take layering clothes with you and rain gear. if you plan to go, because you can have cold mornings where it's, 40 degrees. It just depends. You just never know what that weather's going to be like along the lake.
Hey, Mark,
Yeah.
is it good in the fall as well, or just the spring?
It is good in the fall. Not as many. The volume of warblers is not as great, but they do come through. And it's nice because there's not a lot of people out there looking for them. And as you know, that's the season where you look at them, you go, what kind is that one? Because they're in their winter plumage. And it becomes really, that would be a program in of itself. It's just identifying fall warblers. It's extremely challenging. Some of them look the same. A black-throated blue looks like a black-throated blue, a male, when they come through. But there are some that just, you don't know what they are unless you go home and get your field guide out, or you have an app on your phone. And then sometimes it's iffy. So yeah, they do come back through, just not in the numbers that we see in the spring.
Mark, do you find you do your focusing manually or automatic?
I use autofocus. If there's a lot of brush in the way, I switch to manual focus. But I use aperture priority,
Right.
because the birds are moving all the time, and they're moving it from one area it's darker into an area that's lighter. And I just have learned how to use aperture priority and how to use my exposure compensation button on the fly.
Right.
Know where I need to be based on the light.
Thank you.
Now, Terrence also wanted to know, can you see the lake from the boardwalk?
Some places you can. It's right on the lake. I mean, the boardwalk, Magee Marsh used to be a state park. It was called Crane Creek State Park Beach. So it's an old beach. It was an old state park beach. So the parking lot is gigantic because there were beachgoers there. That's why the parking lot is so big. And the boardwalk is, the lake is on one side of the parking lot, and on the other side is the wooded area they call the actual, where the boardwalk is located. So you can, in some points on the boardwalk, you can look out and see Lake Erie. You can walk to it in minutes. I mean, you can go right out on the beach if you want.
Do you see flycatchers up there?
Yes, you see great crested. You will see Phoebe. You will see least. You will see, let's see, what else have I seen there? I'm trying to think of some olive-sided occasionally. What are the two small ones that look alike? What are they? I forget their names.
Willow and alder.
Willow.
Yeah, alder, and what's the other one?
Willow.
Yeah, the willow and the alder. They look alike, but you've got to hear them sing before you really know what they are. And that's about it. Those are the flycatchers we normally see. I haven't seen a yellow belly flycatcher there. The olive-sided is a nice one to find. That's a tough one to find in our area, but they are there.
What about eastern kingbirds or any of the larger ones?
Yes, the eastern kingbirds are plentiful. They're all summer, actually. They're all summer. Very common.
Tammy mentioned the peewee.
Yep, the eastern wood peewee is there too, another flycatcher, I guess. I don't remember them all, but when I see them, I know what they are.
What aperture do you generally set your camera at when you're shooting?
Well, at Magee Marsh, it's wide open because if the trees are leaved out, the light is not that great. So on my 600, it's f4. On my 500, it's f5.6. So I usually keep it wide open most of the time, unless there's good light and the bird is somewhat stationary. I'll dial it back and I'll go as far as f8 just to try to get more depth of field. But usually wide open.
And then Terrence also wanted to know, since it's a marsh, are there any wading birds along the boardwalk?
You will not along the boardwalk. You might see a sora along the estuary trail, which is a trail that goes towards Ottawa Wildlife Refuge. It's on a dike. And you see some greater and lesser yellow legs. If you go to Howard Metro Park, which is just down the road, you'll see shorebirds there. You see Dunlin, quite a few Dunlin are usually there. You'll see solitary sandpipers, spotted sandpipers. This depends on what time you're there. We also have rails, king rail, Virginia rail are the most common ones you see.
Nice. How is it for raptors?
Well, the Magee Marsh itself, there are, in the parking lot at one end to the other, there are 2 active eagle's nests, bald eagle. There are quite a few northern harriers, and they're there most of the summer. Some of them move on north. We also have red-tailed hawks are very common. Cooper's hawk is common. What other raptors are there? If you're there, we even have short-eared owls that have been there as late as, mid. The long-eareds and the saw-whits they're gone by then. In fact, I have seen the snowy owl there as late as the Magee Marsh Bird Festival. That was still in the fields close by the actual festival to the south. But those are the main red-shouldered hawk, of course, is another one it's very common. And we also have nesting broadwing hawks in the area, not at Magee Marsh, but in oak openings. So you get to hear them do their high-pitched call, and it's fun to see those guys. And then in the winter, we do have rough-legged hawks come through. We have golden eagles will pass by. I'm also an observer for the Detroit River Hawk Watch, so I spend 3 months in the fall every day of the week for 8 hours a day counting migrating raptors at Detroit River, which is a funnel point for raptors to cross between Lake Erie and Lake Superior. So we get, I was telling Deborah, I was counting one day, we had 35,000 broadwing hawks come over. Use big kettles. I mean, big kettles, and 100 golden eagles and red-tailed hawks and osprey and you name it. They come through. Goshawks coming through. But the raptors I mentioned earlier are the ones that are there year round, which a lot of them are common down here as well.
Mm-hmm. And he also asked, what about egrets, herons?
Yeah,
and ibis?
well, we have egrets. The great egret is there. They're already showing up right now. Actually, they're starting to show up now. Snowy egrets are common. Great blue herons are common, of course. Ibis we see occasionally, not often. Well, we do see one. It's usually the white-faced. And then what was the other one you mentioned?
Just egrets, herons, and
those
ibis.
And occasionally a little blue will show up. I've photographed a little blue at Howard Marsh a couple times, usually juveniles. They're the white ones with the black on the end of their wings, a little bit of black. But those are the key ones that are there in the summer.
Nice. What about terns?
Yeah, we have Caspian terns are pretty common. Forester terns in the fall for sure. Quite a few of those. We get Bonaparte gulls, great black gulls, lesser black gulls, of course ring-billed gulls. Sometimes we'll get a kittiwake show up. That's in the fall, black-legged kittiwake. But those are the key terns, are the Forester tern and the Caspian tern. Sometimes a least tern will show up, but it's not as common. The common tern is the other one. I'm sorry, I missed one. The common tern is also there.
Nice. So when you do that hawk watch, do they take people to observe while you're counting? I know some of the watches do that.
We have a roped off area that we sit in, and I act more or less as a observer, a spotter. We have hire one counter who is is paid by the government. His name's Kevin George. He's out of Pennsylvania. He's been doing it for years and years and years. And there are about 7 of us that volunteer our time as what we call a citizen scientist. We sit up there and we count all forms of raptors. We count turkey vultures. We count blue jays. We get groups of blue jays in the thousands. We count crows. We get those in the thousands. We count monarch butterflies. You know, we had a couple of days of 800 monarch butterflies coming over when they start migrating. So in each group of birds, they come at a specific time over a period between September 1st and November 30th. You know, it's all mapped out. If you go to the Detroit River Hawk Watch, it's one of the larger volume hawk watches in the country, actually. And it's done at a Detroit Metro Park, and it's on the south side of Detroit, so it's really easy to get to. But it is a lot of fun, a lot of fun. We had, I think last year I had to leave. We came to Florida early, but I think the end of the year with over 100,000 birds.
Ooh, sounds great. Oh, and Tammy mentioned they also have green herons.
Yeah, we have green herons. Sorry, missed that one. Yep, sure do. Very common.
Very good. So what's the most unusual bird that you've photographed, would you say?
Well, the rarest bird, I think, is for me, is probably the ivory gull. And that was the one that showed up in Flint, Michigan a few years ago, well out of its territory. Oh, by the way, I'll go back to herons. We also have American bitterns and least bitterns. So we have those 2 guys too. And I've also photographed a brambling, which is a European finch in Cleveland. Probably those are the 2 most scarce birds I've ever photographed up there.
Nice. What's your favorite bird to photograph?
I prefer owls. I chase them. I mean, I chase them around the country. I go to the Sac-Sim bog. My wife and I go there every winter. I've been going this is my 7th winter there. So, you know, I've gotten pictures of the great gray, the hawk owl, the boreal owl, northern saw-whet owl, snowy owl, barn owl, barred owl, great horn. I mean, there's plenty of more owls that I haven't gotten. I have to go out west to get some of the other ones, but I love owls, and that's kind of a passion. I mean, they're tough to photograph. You got to be careful in encroaching on their territory because they're very sensitive. You know, a long-eared owl, if you get too close to a long-eared owl, you know you're too close because they get really skinny and their eyes get really big. That means you're stressing them out. So there's a lot of ethical approaches to photographing owls that you have to really follow, because there are so many people that don't follow it. You know, they bait them, they chase them. So I find it very challenging to photograph owls.
Nice. Terrence wants to know if you've ever gone to the Owl Center in Minnesota.
Is that in Duluth? I have not. I have not gone to the Owl Center there, and I know they have a big rehab center. I've been to Hawk Mountain, which is where they do their raptor count. Actually, my wife and I are going back there. When she gets back from Florida, we're going to jump in the car, go up through Michigan, through the UP of Michigan, the Upper Peninsula, to look for Uper lights on the beach, which are stones that glow in the dark. And then we're going to go to the Sac-Sim bog to see what it looks like in the spring. We've never been there in the spring, and that's when their warblers will be there. They have nesting Connecticut warblers there. I'd like to find one.
Wow.
Nice. So what makes those stones glow?
They have some kind of a sulfite in them or something that retains light. And so if you take a black light out on the beach up on Lake Superior at night, you can find them that way.
Huh.
It's become a gigantic hobby for a lot of people. They even have people to do tours. You got to pay them $150 and they'll take you out to these secluded beaches along Lake Superior to look for these things. But I know where to look, so I'm not going to pay anybody. It's more fun to find it yourself.
Wait, what are those stones called again? Lauren wants.
Uper lights. Look it up on the web. Uper lights.
I don't even know how you spell that. Okay.
Uper, just the way it sounds.
U-P-E-R.
Uper. It's the Upper Peninsula. You know, you live in Michigan, you're a Uper.
Ah. Okay, I see. Nice.
It's Y-O-O-P.
Oh, here it is. Lauren's got it. Yooper, Yooper.
Yeah.
Huh.
If you've never been on if you've never been on the shore of Lake Superior or at Whitefish Point, if you're a birder, you got to go to Whitefish Point, which is in Michigan. You need to make the trip because the rocks along the beach are just wonderful on Lake Superior. And the lake is so crystal clear and the water is so cold. And you can see the Milky Way jumps out of the sky at you. I mean, it's just amazing up there. Amazing place.
Sounds beautiful.
It is.
All right. Any more questions? All right, got quiet here.
Well, I enjoyed the opportunity to share warblers with you, and I hope you make a trip up there someday. Maybe next year will be the best time to go when the boardwalk's open, because that is truly the experience, is to be with thousands of your closest friends on a boardwalk, looking at birds. What's it called?
Twitter?
Twitter, and you have a live feed, and they'll say, we got a golden wing logger, stop number 7, and people run over there. So it's just it's an experience just to do it. If you don't like crowds, do it just once. But they have beautiful vendors there. They have tents set up. It's the biggest birding event in the entire United States, and they have over 70,000 people come every year. Wow. So it's over a 10-day period. That's my phone. Sorry. So make the trip and book well ahead of time if you're planning to stay close to the event, because hotel space fills up. So I would book over a year out.
Ooh.
I would, if you really want to get close to it. I mean, the place to be is the headquarters, and that's Maumee Bay State Park. And that, if you want to be where the action's at and where all the activities, and they have evening programs and they have dinners. I mean, if you want to be involved at that point, that's where you want to stay, and you need to book early. Maumee Bay State Park, or contact the Black Swamp Bird Observatory for more information. I'm sure they'll be happy to share it with you.
Yeah, I'm sure they probably have a list of preferred hotels and that.
They
Well,
do.
everyone says your photos are excellent, great information, tremendous, Chris says. And then Terrence said that a local birder here in Louisiana stayed in a condo about an hour away, so you can look at Airbnb.
Yep, absolutely. Absolutely. It's a wonderful place to be in the spring. Maybe not this spring, given all the stuff going on, but definitely make the trip. Put it on your bucket list of birding trips to do.
Mm-hmm. Very good.
All right. Well, that was absolutely wonderful. Thank you so much, Mark.
Thank you.
Thanks everyone for coming.
Thanks, Mark.
Hope you come next week as well. That will be about our local birding hotspot, Mead Gardens.
Yes, it's a beautiful place. Thanks a lot.
Thank
Bye-bye.
you.
Night, everybody.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.